Who wants Tyreek Hill anyway? Yeah, I'm a Jet fan, but I truthfully, honestly, didn't even want him. I would play this exact same character if I did want him, but I really actually didn't. Not a fan of his. And we're going to get into all of the big NFL free agents that we can handle in this episode of the show. We're going to go team by team. It's been a huge offseason so far for the NFL. I really feel like the NBA is the league that I look to for off-season buzz. NBA free agency has always been the thing. The big trades, the big moves, the contracts, the sign-in trades, the headlines while the game isn't even being played. MLB has a little of it with the hot stove kind of stuff in the winter meetings, but they squandered that this year, so it's really not in the zeitgeist. And football always felt like it didn't really need it. It feels like the Super Bowl just happened. But for the first time this year, I can't tell if it's because a lot of stars are changing spots and bigger trades and draft picks going back and forth and teams stockpiling in the draft and not necessarily having one team that's a dominant dynasty like we have in the past with the Pats and stuff. So I do feel like we're getting more teams going for it. I mean, look at the whole AFC West. They're all in. All in. And every team feels like they can win it. And it's an arms race there. And I feel like that's a microcosm for what's happening across the league, really. Is that most of the teams aren't just folding before the season starts. There's a couple that are going to be bad. But I think there's more competitiveness than there has been before. And it's making it interesting because Devontae Adams can go to the Raiders, and you don't see it coming. And it's really making the offseason a beautiful thing. Take it while you can. I don't say nice things about the NFL all the time, so this is going to be a fun one because I love the free agency stuff. So let's dive into all the moves. We're going to break them all down team by team, check out the depth charts, see how we feel about each of the moves, the big ones anyway. We'll skip over the centers that sign backup deals. And then at the end, if you're into picks, no picks we can make on the NFL right now necessarily. I mean, they're out there, but I want to start looking at the odds for division winners because before the season starts, we're going to do a whole show. We'll do the same for baseball coming up, by the way, in every sport, really, picking season-long bets and sticking with them for big units so we can ride them the whole season. And we'll do that for football, but this is the first look at it. See where the lines are starting to land now that these rosters are coming together. So, by the way, before we get into this, at Mike Mush Sports, catch me there. I'm talking about March Madness stuff all the time. Basketball's hot and heavy. I'm trying to keep it balanced by doing a football show, but there's a lot there. There's a lot of picks on there. If you want them, we add it to the tally. Up 34 units on the year so far. Tough time in March Madness so far, but there's still games to go. We got a lot of picks. Check out that video, the one before this, for more picks that'll hopefully cash. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do the liking stuff, share it with your friends. Again, follow on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Mush Sports. Let's get into it. First up, AFC East, my homeland. Not a fan of the Buffalo Bills, but they have made some moves. They have definitely made some moves this year. We'll try to blast through the smaller deals to get to the bigger ones, but they signed two quarterbacks. Barkley's a third stringer that's just in there for camp probably, so that's fine. Case Keenum, getting him for a 7th round pick when the Browns, I mean, they got Deshaun Watson. We'll get to that. Not a fan of his either, really. Case Keenum for a 7th round pick. That's primo stuff. What's not to like about that? He's a guy who can play in the league. He could start in a pinch. He's a great backup. 7th round? I mean, I don't know the financials about it, but man, he should have been starting over injured Baker last year. And then the Browns won a 1st round pick for Baker when Keenum should have been the starter last year. I still like Baker, but come on, what are we doing? So yeah, this is an interesting thing in the QB room. The Barkley one, I don't really know. I guess that's just a camp signing for depth. But Keenum backing up Josh Allen makes a lot of sense to me because he does like to run. He could get injured, miss a game, and you can get Keenum in there and win a football game for sure. Jameis and Crowder signing I really like too. Now I think they lost Cole Beasley. Yes, he got cut. So they will replace him with Crowder, Kumaro he was in Green Bay. Isaiah McKenzie comes back, good piece. Crowder's going to take the place of Beasley. I have their depth chart up here too. Oh, they got Emmanuel Sanders as well. So this wide receiver room has definitely improved, right? Now they have Gabriel Davis. I mean, he came alive in that game against the Chiefs. Is that going to keep up? I don't think so, but he's a good player. And you got Diggs, Davis, Crowder. I really liked on the Jets. He's good. His stats never seem to show you how good he really can be, but I feel like he's the kind of guy that can... He's never gotten over 67 catches, but I feel like he could be a 100-catch guy in the right offense. This isn't the offense, and he's not the guy. But, man, sometimes he just puts on a performance where it's like, let me go to his game log. And now we're getting so bogged down on the first person I ever came to. But, you know, this is the show. Mike the Mush Sports. Game logs, career, sort by possessions. I swear this guy has had to have... Wow, he's only had one 10-possession game. 10-reception game. That is surprising. For some reason, I really like him, and I feel like he could be a really, really good, like, short yardage receiver. Better than Cole Beasley, I think. But maybe I just have this warped view of him. I don't know. I like Crowder, though. And getting Sanders in there for depth, and Kumaro for depth, McKenzie. Now they have 6 guys that can actually play real snaps. They felt like they had no real weapons last year. And they're starting to fix it. They get Duke Johnson for running back. I really like that. He had a quick little moment for the Dolphins last year. Zach Moss should get cut, right? I mean,
open to trading him. That is when he wanted it.
It needs to stop. It needs to never exist. Fans of the show, you understand how much I hate it. Zach Moss, not on this list, so I guess he's under contract, but I can't imagine he's going to play. So anyway, I really like this. They get O.J. Howard. That's a nice one. Dawson Knox and O.J. Howard together. Good combo. Roger Saffold, they're really building up exactly where they should be. Shaq Lawson. I saw an interesting tweet, by the way, which I want to share, which you should follow at Mike Mush Sports. Did I retweet it? I hope I did. I think I did. Yeah. Oh, okay, it's not Shaq Lawson. It's Shaq Mason and Shaq Barrett, but it still counts. Shaq Mason, Shaquille Olajuwon Mason, named after 2 former NBA stars, Shaq and Hakeem Olajuwon. His new teammate, Shaq Barrett, born a year earlier, Shaquille Akeem Barrett, named after the same 2 players. That's insane. Wrong Shaq. Love Shaq. Favorite athlete of all time. We move on. Von Miller signs here. This deal, I mean, all right, I did enough praise of the Bills, right? The Von Miller deal, I don't understand, but I also don't know why deals are reported this way. I guess I get it, because the Players Association wants everything to be reported with big numbers, so it seems like there's a lot of money flying around and players are getting paid. And I guess they could get these contracts, but they're never going to. They should really just report the guaranteed money. So it's really 4 years, $51 million. I still think that's a hell of a lot. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to win it right now, so, you know, respect. You got to get him in the building, but this is a 30. He's turning 33 tomorrow. Yeah, look at that. Happy birthday, Vaughn. I mean, he's going to be turning 39 years old when that deal is over. Granted, he's never going to get there. He's going to get 3 years and then get cut. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know about all that. But they're really beefing up on the D-line, the offensive line, the tight ends, the receivers. They made a lot of moves already. I think this team is mostly done. And they were already good, and they are a very winnable division. I like the things that the Bills did. Nothing to complain about there. And if I'm talking good about the Bills, then big stuff. All right, let's get to the Dolphins. One of the ones I'm going to hate the most. Let's turn it around. Back to AFC hatred. AFC East hatred. The most personal kind for me as a Jet fan. Teddy Bridgewater signing a $6.5 million guaranteed deal worth up to $10 million with incentives. Look, this makes sense. You're not 100% sure Tua is the guy. This, in a vacuum, the Teddy signing makes sense. Because you want to give Tua the reins, and Teddy can be a backup. It's no problem, and he can step in, and if Tua gets hurt like he has a bunch of times, then you're okay. you have a guy that's not a huge drop-off, which you thought Jacoby Brissett would be the similar thing, but he wasn't. He was terrible. But when you do this and then do the Tyreek Hill deal, it's like, okay, so do we believe in Tua or do we not? Because if you don't, I don't think you go get Tyreek Hill. And if you do, I don't think you go get Teddy Bridgewater. So what exactly are the Dolphins doing? It actually goes back to the Flores firing, where it's like, what are you doing? You're trying to win. You got rid of a coach that is pretty good at winning, considering how much of a dumpster fire you were before. And then you go sign all these players, and you've shown that you don't really have confidence in your quarterback. Okay. Let's talk about Hill, the elephant in the room. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of these abusive players. There's a lot of them. It's a complicated issue, and we can't break it all down right now. But I really don't like the idea. Same thing with Deshaun Watson, which we'll get to on the Browns. I don't like the idea of rewarding these guys, making them the highest paid athletes in the world when they could have been in prison or maybe should have been in some scenarios. And I don't know these guys, right? Like, maybe they've turned over a new leaf. But with Kobe Bryant, who is one of my favorite athletes ever and makes it seem like I'm a hypocrite here, he really publicly turned it around and starting supporting his daughters and a lot of women's stuff and women's athletics. And there was a very obvious change in his demeanor. Now, is that manipulation or not? I don't know. And partly, I don't care because I can't really prove it. I'm never going to meet these guys. But when I don't see any remorse, it's really ugly. Even Michael Vick, who did despicable stuff, and everyone that hates him can rightfully hate him if they want to. Even he has come around and talked about it openly and at least tried to shine light on the problems and that he served his time and he's trying to be better. And I just never heard any of that from Tyreek Hill, so I'm not a fan of him in general. And when the Jets were linked to him, I was having a really hard time because if they traded for him, I'm already kind of... The older I get, the harder it is for me to just blindly support a team. Even the Yankees, who I'm a fan of, Aroldis Chapman, same thing. I don't really like to root for him. And it becomes a problem when he's closing a game that I want the team to win. So it's tough. And I was debating what the hell I'm going to do if the Jets trade for Tyreek Hill, and then they didn't. And I was happy because I could root against him and I can root against the Dolphins, and we're good here. Let's talk about the trade itself, the money, and on the field. They give up a first, second, and fourth. And then another fourth and sixth. That's a lot of stuff. Then they pay him a 4-year, $120 million extension. Now, by the way, Devontae Adams went for a first and a second. Devontae Adams is like 50 times the receiver Tyreek Hill is, in my opinion. He can do everything on the field while Tyreek Hill does mostly one thing. He stretches it. And he does that really well, probably the best in the league. But I was astonished at how high the price was for him compared to Adams when you have to pay both maximum money, basically. So I thought that was weird. I'm not saying they gave up too much for a player of that caliber, because I actually think the Devontae Adams deal was a little on the cheap side, probably. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I don't think they got him for cheap, right? They really, really are going all in here. And then paid him a ton of money for a guy that, you know, could go off the deep end and has character issues. So I don't like any of that. And then you have to wonder, why did the Chiefs get rid of Tyreek Hill? Like, yeah, they have to pay Mahomes, and they were going to have to make tough decisions. I get all that. I'm sure they could have figured out how to cut a lot of other people if they thought that Hill was that vital to their team. I think they realized that the Kelsey Hill Mahomes thing probably had already peaked for a couple reasons. One, Tyreek Hill's numbers, his in-depth numbers, have waned a little bit. We've seen a couple of injuries. From a speedster, that makes sense. Some hammy stuff. He's been relatively healthy. But you saw their offense struggle early this season, especially when everyone decided, oh, we're just going to run 2 deep safeties. Like, it's that easy. It's not. They still ended up figuring it out, and they did end up losing. But is there a world where the Chiefs decided Tyreek is kind of just here to stretch the field for us and open things up for Kelsey underneath and Mahomes to do all his other stuff, and maybe we can just get a burner that can do 80% of what Tyreek Hill can for 20% of the price? And I assume that's what they want Marquez Valdez-Scantling to do, who they signed, we'll talk about in a minute. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to get Tyreek Hill in the building, this is the price you have to pay. I get it. And if you want to pair someone with Waddle, who this is a really steaming hot take, but I think Waddle over these 4 years of this contract will be the better receiver than Tyreek Hill. I don't think that matters because Hill can stretch the field for Waddle, and it'll serve as kind of the Waddle playing the Kelsey role. Different players, but same scheme idea. So I still think it's good for both of them. But yeah, I don't know about all this for a million different reasons. And if he is losing a step and he's a burner, he'll lose a step. I keep thinking of like Deshaun Jackson, where all of a sudden it was just over and he's still getting signed to deals. And you're like, yeah, he can run straight, but it's really just to occupy the safety. It's not to actually have an impact. I'm not saying that's going to happen right away, but in year 3, I don't know, maybe. So this deal would scare me if I'm them. But they added a lot of skill players, right? Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, who I really think Raheem Mostert's career is pretty much over. His knees are shot. So I don't know about this signing, really. I don't love it. But the Edmonds signing is good. They have backs. They signed a fullback, which is, again, weird. Like, are you playing power football? Because you just signed a $7.5 million deal for a fullback and then signed Chase Edmonds, who's a speedster, who you, in theory, would want as like a solo back in a shotgun. And then you signed another speedster, so you're wanting to play ultra fast. You signed Cedric Wilson, Preston Williams comes back. You signed linemen. I mean, the Teron Armstead deal, you got to keep Tua up, so either way, that's good. But what do you want to be? I don't know if they have much of an identity right now. I guess they're just getting as much skill as they can in the building. And maybe they're trying to figure out, like, okay, if we give Tua weapons, at least we can figure out whether or not he is the guy. Which makes sense. So maybe this is an experimental year and and next year they go after a different quarterback or something. I don't know. We'll see. I still think Tua is good. For a lot of people that are shitting on him for not being able to throw a deep ball, if you remember back to Bama in that title game where he came in for Hurts and they won, he was slinging it all the way down the field. And guys were wide open, but I really think it was his injuries that didn't allow him to get it down the field. We'll see. So yeah, there's a lot of defensive deals here. They're trying to pick up the defense. They're trying to pick up their skill players and find out if Tua is the guy. I'm not going to rag completely on the Dolphins, but they are all in for a team that I don't think is a Super Bowl contender at all in any capacity. Like, I think they're still the 3rd best team in the division. And because of that, I even think there's a world where the Jets could beat this team, right? So that's why I don't understand going to get the Tyreek Hill thing. I don't feel the same about the Raiders going to get Devontae Adams. So the whole vibe of the thing, starting with the Flores firing, just doesn't make sense. It's just like playing fantasy football. Like, I want this guy. And you're like, okay, but does it make any bit of sense on the field? I don't know. Remains to be seen, but I'm down on the Dolphins. The Pats have done nothing. The Pats have done, like, really nothing. They brought back James White, who hasn't been the same in a couple years. He's one of my favorite players of the last decades. He's so underrated and served a great role. That Super Bowl where he was unbelievable, but he hasn't been the same. They signed Ty Montgomery. It's like, is he even in the league anymore? Trent Brown comes back. You needed that. But you've just let a lot of people go. You got rid of Chase Winovich, brought in Mac Wilson. Okay. I'm not sure that moves the needle, really. You re-sign a couple people that you already had. Malcolm Butler's back. Devin McCourty's back. Nick Folk is back. Matthew Slater. They've done nothing. What are they doing? This is weird. This is the team where you would think, let's go get some weapons and see if our young quarterback is the guy. Dolphins are doing it with Tua. At least you could say they're trying to evaluate their quarterback. The Patriots don't seem to be trying. Maybe they're going to come down with a trade or something, but they didn't improve their skill positions at all? It's weird. Their running backs are good. I don't think they need more. So that's probably why they bring in Montgomery for depth and White. But yeah, I mean, you keep the O-line intact a little. You traded one of your offensive linemen. Yeah, I mean, you go to the Patriots depth chart and it's like, it's pretty barren. They're okay with Aguilar and Bourne and Jacoby Myers. I don't really understand what the deal is here and why they haven't been more active. Now, last season, they kind of went all in on a lot of different things. They signed Henry. They signed Jonnu Smith. They signed 1 million people last year. So maybe they just had to get their money right again. And this is just another evaluation year for Mac Jones. But I would have tried to get him at least one weapon. So maybe they're not done, but I do not like the offseason the Patriots have had. That said, hard to hate on Belichick. I mean, he kind of generally knows what he's doing. Maybe they go hard in the draft, make some moves around draft day. This feels incomplete, though. So I'm down on their early stuff, but I don't think they're done. The Jets, I gotta say, I like the way the Jets are operating. And this is why I didn't want to do the Tyreek Hill thing, because they've finally, with Joe Douglas, they got Saleh in-house, who's a good motivator and a defensive coach at the very least, even though they gave up 50 points 100 times last year. But their defense played hard, and they had some good pieces. They're finally willing to build slow. That's what you need to do. You can't rush it. When you try to just do patchwork rush stuff, that only works if you have the perfect quarterback on a young rookie deal and you realize you need to throw money at the problem like the Chargers are doing. Like, just sign everybody now, because once we have to pay Herbert, it's all out the window. You're seeing it with Mahomes. They had to pay him and they have to get rid of Tyreek Hill, right? And the Jets don't know if they have the quarterback yet. I like Wilson. I hope he's good, but they're still in evaluation phase. So build slow. Get some pieces that can fix this team. Just plug holes. And then once you realize what you have, you can really go all in on stuff. So I'm happy they didn't break the bank for Hill, because they're not ready to win yet. So what's the point of paying a guy like that? They bring back Flacco as a backup, fine. They bring back Mike White. The quarterback room is done. Tevin Coleman comes back. He's so cheap. And Michael Carter's going to be the running back there, so they just need depth, and it's fine. They bring back Berrios. I liked him in the slot last year. They're willing to have Crowder leave and have Berrios take over that deal. We can open the depth chart for the Jets here. Their wide receiver room is already good, by the way. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Braxton Berrios. They still have Keelan Cole, Denzel Mims. That's solid. They might need a wide receiver one at some point, but they're not there yet. They're really not. It's not time to pay those people. So then they get Connor McDermott comes back. Depth at tackle. They get Laken Tomlinson. Big deal, but that's really good to shore up the middle of the line. The pocket won't just collapse and dent from the inside and get the quarterback killed like it has been since he came into the league, but well before that. They bring back Feeney. They bring back Nathan Shepard. Jacob Martin signs. I like that. DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead, LaMarcus Joyner comes back. He was injured last year. They never really got to see what he was going to do. And the tight ends I really enjoy, because they're bolstering the front, right? They're wanting to keep Wilson upright. The Laken Tomlinson signing. The CJ Uzoma signing, who they get for pretty cheap, by the way. Not that big a deal. And he filled a role on a Super Bowl team. In fact, if he wasn't hurt, he might have made a difference in that Super Bowl. And then they get Tyler Conklin from Minnesota, who is really good. I mean, these two tight ends are interchangeable. They both are willing to block. They can both make receptions. They can both be red zone targets. I like this. So you can do two tight end sets where you have a heavy line and do short yardage stuff that they weren't really able to do before. And if you have Conklin in there to block and Uzoma as a blocking receiving threat, and then you have Becton healthy, and you have Laken Tomlinson next to him, he's going to be on the right side, actually. And then you have Vera Tucker on the left and McGovern at center. The right tackle spot isn't necessarily filled. Chuma Edoga didn't really work out. George Fant, I don't know. You still need, not every line is going to be perfect, but the left four, pretty good. And then two tight ends to make up for it on the right side. I think Zach Wilson's going to have more time to operate this year. And again, you can use this as the evaluation time. This is what I would do to evaluate a young quarterback, not go get Tyreek Hill like the Dolphins did. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess for them, it's like if there was another year of Wilson and you were still unsure, then you're like, okay, let's go get the receiver, prove it once and for all. So I guess they're just in different spots, but yeah, I don't know. I like what the Jets have done. They've gotten depth. They've gotten some defensive players. They're filling holes in the secondary with Reed and Whitehead, which was just super, super necessary. They pay big money for them, but you weren't ever able to evaluate what Saleh's defense can do because only his front seven was active and the secondary was a disaster. So I like this. And that's pretty much that division. We'll go back to the divisional odds at the end. Ravens haven't done anything. They really haven't done much. They bring Morgan Moses in. He's good. He's had some injury issues, but you can't have too many linemen. Just haven't been very active. I think they were so injured last year that you weren't able to really know anything or take anything from it. I'm sure they'll still make moves, but there's just not a lot to talk about here because everybody that they had just went down with injury. So I feel like they're just running it back, which makes a lot of sense. Bengals, they bring in La'el Collins. They needed line help. That was the only thing holding them back, really. Maybe some defensive stuff. They bring back BJ Hill. Eli Apple comes back, even though he got shredded. And I mean, they weren't going to let him go, but I'm a little surprised that they brought him back. Jesse Bates get the franchise tag. You needed to keep him somehow. You really just took care of the defense, which you needed to do, and you signed Ted Karras and Kappa and La'el Collins. You bring in Hayden Hurst to be a blocking tight end. You get Brendan Allen, backup quarterback. Doesn't matter, familiarity. But yeah, they did exactly what they needed to do. I like this kind of offseason too. It's not sexy. It doesn't need to be sexy. When you go to the Super Bowl, you just need to fill the problems that you had. And the offensive line was a huge problem. And they have 4 guys that'll help block for the quarterback that they know is the guy. So yeah, I really like this. I really like this for them. Good offseason. Let's get to the Browns, I guess. I'm not going to go on the same exact crusade that I just went on for Tyreek Hill, but the Deshaun Watson thing is actually worse. At least Tyreek Hill for a couple of years has proven that he's not doing this stuff anymore. Deshaun Watson just got cleared of 22 charges. There's a difference between it happening 2 times and 22 times. And I don't understand how you can support this kind of behavior. And you gave him a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million deal. Why? You didn't need to. Who are you bidding against? There's no way anyone else was doing that. This is the most Browns move of the Browns moves. There's so much risk here. He's good, but you gave 3 firsts, a third, and 2 fourths just to pay him $230 guaranteed. What if he fucks up off the field and you owe guaranteed money? Now, I may be in their contract. There's some stipulations for that kind of stuff. We don't know that. I hope we don't find out. But to give this kind of money, I just don't understand who you were bidding against. Who else was giving this kind of package? If someone was willing to give this kind of package, they would have done it a long time ago. He wouldn't have been on the Texans this long. This just felt like I know they have a team that can win right now. They went and got Cooper for a 5th round pick. They have no picks. They have no firsts. They gave up a 3rd. They have nothing. They gave up their 5th. This is the team. They're not going to be very young. Now, look, can they win? Yeah. They are probably the front runner in that division, even though the Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year. Because you replace Odell with Amari Cooper, which is probably an upgrade, considering Odell didn't do anything there. You get Jakeem Grant for speed. Njoku getting the franchise tag made no sense to me at all, but the tight end franchise tag is cheap, so that's a weird one. I guess you want to keep him, and you just want to give him 1 more year. They get the Chase Winovich deal. We talked about that with the Pats. But it's really just the quarterback here, and they probably felt like they were a quarterback away. The defense is ready to win. You have Myles Garrett, who's an all-pro in the prime of his career. Denzel Ward, same thing. So I get you had to do something, but this is a hard pill to swallow, and a lot of upside, a lot of downside. Is this team a Super Bowl contender? If Watson is on the field, then maybe. I don't think they're a favorite. I still don't know about their skill players. I mean, they put Deshaun Watson and Kareem Hunt on the same team. What are we doing? What are we doing? They should cut him, by the way, to free up some money and use that money elsewhere. I don't want to give a glowing review of this because I don't like it. I just don't like the idea of rewarding potentially bad people. And not even that, just the risk that comes with it is just insane, and the contract just seemed unnecessary. I feel like you could have got him for guarantee. If you guaranteed 75% of his contract, was he going to say no? No one else is doing this. It's nonsense. And then they bring in Jacoby Brissett. It's like, why? Why did you pay him? You could have just kept Case Keenum. This doesn't make sense. Case Keenum is better. So, yeah. Some weird stuff. Weird stuff from the Browns. Not sure. Steelers. I mean, do people forget Mitchell Trubisky isn't really good? You can get lost in the stats. And look, maybe this is going to look really bad when we look back, and if he has a good year, then whatever. But you look at his stats and you're like, oh, maybe this guy is good. 66%, huh? Look at that. Serves a backup role in Buffalo, which people like. I don't know why. He didn't play at all. 67% completion, but the yardage is so low. It's so low. And he missed a couple games, like, okay. But he just doesn't get it down the field. I mean, the yards per attempt, this season is his good season, right? So let's just take him at his peak. Even his peak in 14 games, he wouldn't have gotten 4,000 yards. I mean, no way. 24 touchdowns, 12 picks. Yards per attempt, 7.4, but he never sniffed that in another one of these seasons. Made the Pro Bowl. I don't understand how, but the Pro Bowl doesn't count for anything. QB rating under 100. And this is his peak, and this was 2018. We got 2 more years after that of seeing, oh, that's probably not actually what he is. And then he serves a backup role, and all of a sudden you're like, now we got to pay him. It's like, wait, what? Why? What are we talking about? You watch him play, and he makes a huge mistake, and you're like, oh, yeah, this isn't a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And maybe their hands were tied. Like, I don't know. There were a million other people I could have went and got. There were so many quarterbacks available. They couldn't have done the Russell Wilson deal. Why is no one going for Minshew, by the way? This would have been a good spot for him. I like him better than Trubisky. I just didn't get this. They do sign Myles Jack, who I really love. I loved him in the draft. I think he's been really good, and I think he's going to help this defense. I think their defense is still really good. I think their defense had good moments last year. Their offense was just so bad that it put them in really bad scenarios and made them stay on the field. I wouldn't be shocked if they had a better year defensively next year, especially with Myles Jack. It's like when Ryan Shazier got injured, they never seemed to really fill that role. Devin Bush, in and out, different kind of role. Myles Jack is the sideline to sideline, all over the field guy. I do like that. And they're signing offensive line to protect Trubisky, but it's like, he's not the guy, man. This just doesn't scream confidence. I think they're the worst team in the division, although it's a close division. And I just, look, he didn't make a ton of money. It's a 2-year deal. I guess this is just a stopgap to be like, look, we're competitive, even though you know they're probably not going to make the playoffs and not capable of winning a Super Bowl. They get rid of Juju. There were a lot of things that happened here. But what are you doing? Why? You could have came in with a splash because Big Ben was making a lot of money, and you could have spent something to go get a different quarterback, and they landed on Trubisky. I don't know. I don't get it. On to the AFC South. I do have a lean for who I think will win that division, by the way, but I'm undecided, and I don't really feel like betting on it, but we'll get to that at the end. AFC South. Yo, I like the Texans, kind of. I don't think they made sexy moves, but they made slow moves and turned over a lot of stuff, right? They have new players. That's what they needed. The quarterbacks, whatever. I actually think Davis Mills is good. I think he had a good year last year. I don't know if the stats are going to bear it out, but when I watched him play, there were moments where I was like, yeah, he's a starter. Yeah, 67%, 16-10, not great. He's an older quarterback. I don't know. I mean, the yards don't pop off the page or anything, and the yards per attempt isn't great, but for a rookie on a horrible team with no skill players, I kind of liked what I saw from him. So, get Mitchell Trubisky off my screen. Royce Freeman, Ogunbowale, Chris Conley, They're just, honestly, they know they're not trying to win right now. Okoronkwo, I like bringing him in. There's some okay players on this team. The more important thing is freshness. They knew that everything wasn't working last year. They're redoing it all. They're spinning the bingo. What is that called? You know, the bingo thing where it's not important. They're shaking it all up. They want to see if the quarterback is good. They're like, if the Dolphins are here in evaluating their quarterback, the Jets are here and the Texans are here. They're all 1 year away from each other. And so I like the idea of at least bringing some new linemen in, bringing some different backs in, bringing some receivers, changing the defense, just change almost everything. They got Blake Cashman from the Jets, by the way, who's pretty good. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't hate it. I like when teams don't spend a lot when they know they're not good, but can still turn over the roster to find out if they have any new players before they want to spend a lot. So no complaints. The Colts, Matt Ryan, look, I have two sides of this. I get getting rid of Wentz, I guess. I don't... This is going to sound weird when I talk about these things back to back, but I don't think Matt Ryan is that much better than Carson Wentz at this point. I really don't. I'm a big Carson Wentz guy, and I haven't liked what I've seen from Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan was stuck with a horrible, horrible offensive line. And the Colts one is much better. So if there's a world where he has one good year on a different team before falling off, I guess this could be it. I don't know. I'm worried about them, but I get that if you think you have a team that can win, they have a good defense, the running back, the line, I get it. You have to make a change there. And you were able to do this by giving up a third. You didn't have to break the bank for one of the top quarterbacks. So if there's a go-for-it move that doesn't require all your picks, I guess this is it and all your money. And so I'm not going to hate on it. Also, talking with a bunch of my friends about if they were to win the Super Bowl this year, is Matt Ryan a Hall of Fame quarterback? I said yes. A lot of people laughed at me. We had a long argument about it. The reason I said yes was, first of all, I think it would be cool if every MVP was in the Hall of Fame. I think that would just be, if you went to the Hall of Fame, it would just be a cool thing to see. Secondly, he won the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, and would be a Super Bowl winner. And then the idea of having all that success, relative success, going to a Super Bowl at least with the Falcons, and then winning it with another franchise, I just think the story works. Like, those three things, the Rookie of the Year, MVP, Super Bowl winner, should be enough to go into the Hall of Fame to me. But I have a different outlook on the Hall of Fame than a lot of people do. I'm not much of a gatekeeper. I just want it to be telling the right story of the league. I did a Hall of Fame Stafford spiel on one of the videos, so go back to that if you want to relive it. But feeling similar about Matt Ryan if he were to have a good year, which I'm not so sure about. So I just think the Colts are going to be exactly the same as last year. I don't think this really moves the needle from where they were. I think Wentz actually had a good year and got a raw deal kind of. And he'll go still play elsewhere. He might be better off, honestly. But, yeah, I don't know. Getting Yannick Ngakoue for Rock Ya-Sin is a good deal. So that's cool. Jaguars. Here's what the Jaguars do. Sign 4 new pass catchers every year. None of them are great. Probably overpay all of them. And be bad. And then we move on. And that's the end of it. I kind of want to just move on completely. The Christian Kirk deal, eye-popping. I do think he's good. A lot of people are crapping on this deal. I really do think he's good. I'd rather pay Christian Kirk this contract than Zay Jones this contract. Big time. I'd rather not have Laquan Treadwell. I'd rather definitely never sign Evan Ingram because he can't catch the football for a pass-catching tight end. He's got stone hands. You pay the offensive line, probably a really good idea. Again, this is evaluation time for Lawrence. Everyone assumed he would come in and be better. He didn't. But it was just 1 year, and I get the idea of putting Kirk with him and needing receivers, and last year's didn't work up. So you do the bingo thing, you shake it up. Yahtzee, whatever. But they're just a meme at this point. Just keep signing receivers and never do anything with them. I do think there's a world where Lawrence and Kirk become a cool duo, especially fantasy-wise. Like, for a backup fantasy duo, that's pretty cool for bye weeks to put them in there. I could see that being good. With Cam Robinson, Brandon Scherf there. Yeah. I don't know. I could see improvement from the Jaguars for sure. Are they going to be a contender? No, but I get it at least. At least they're trying a thing. I can meme on them for killing their receivers, but you do have to find the one that has chemistry with Lawrence, and it didn't look like they had one last year. So, yeah. I hate the Evan Ingram thing, though. Yikes. Not a fan of his. Titans, they go get Robert Woods for a 6th-round pick. Great deal. I mean, you got to hope he's healthy, but man, what a deal. One of the better value trades that I've seen this year. I think that's really good for the Titans. Robert Woods is better than Julio Jones is right now. There's really no doubt about it. I was going to say he stays on the field. Ironic since he got injured and left the field, but that was like one major injury as opposed to Julio, who's just going to keep pulling the same hamstring. So I'd rather have Woods and Brown than Julio and Brown. And if you can do that for a 6th-round pick and probably pay him a similar amount, that's a good deal. Austin Hooper's fine. Jeff Swaim's a blocker. And they re-signed Harold Landry to a gigantic deal. And that's mostly it. Bring back everyone else they had. This is a team that if they really wanted to do their go-for-it move, like the Dolphins signing Hill, like we're going in, the Raiders going for Adams, we're going in, replace Tannehill. Like, you know that this team is capped on what they can do. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill. He imploded completely in the playoffs. Not the first time. You do all this other stuff. It's window dressing. It's okay, but they're going to be what they are. They're going to be a good regular season team, good defense, great running game. You're missing the whole Derrick Henry window. It stayed open last year, then he got hurt. He comes back next year. Did the window close? I don't know. I'm not one to doubt him at this point, but how much more obvious does it need to be that you need a quarterback change? AFC West, this is the guns blazing. This is the guns blazing division, man. This is everything. Russell Wilson, if you listen to this show at all, especially through fantasy football season where I won the championship with Russ, WrestleMania 7 was my team name. 7th year, we finally get the belt. I'll have the trophy over here when we pick it up at the draft this year. I love this deal. I can't believe people are saying that Russell Wilson might be past his prime. I find that to be ridiculous. The Seahawks had issues. This is a guy that's headed for a Hall of Fame trajectory, in my opinion. And 2 first-round picks, 2 seconds, a 5th. I mean, that's a big deal. They gave up Drew Lock, who nobody wants, Noah Fant, and Shelby Harris. This is a big price tag. It really is. But you are getting a star quarterback. This is similar to what a Rodgers deal would have been, except he's way older. And probably better. I mean, I'll admit that, fine. But Russ is how old? 33? So you're getting his, and they've had success with late-stage quarterbacks, right? Elway, Manning. They've done this. And his numbers are still really, 2020... Last year he was injured, playing injured, so I'm not going to hold this against. And by the way, still had 25 touchdowns, only 6 picks. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. The 2 years before that, he's at 71 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. I mean, this guy is a legend. One of the best deep balls in the business. They had a team that was ready to win. How anyone could crap on this deal is beyond me. So if you give up a lot of picks, fine, but they don't have holes to plug. So it's okay. They signed Randy Gregory. I'm not a fan of his character issues. However, good player. The defense was already there. He'll replace the Von Miller hole, which they didn't even need to replace because they got better when he left, by the way. And they're just shoring up the defense, which was already good. They already have the receivers. They get rid of Noah Fant. That's okay. They have the guy with the really long name who's I can't pronounce. Let's give it a shot for funsies. Broncos. Okwegum? Nope. Okwegbunham. All right. In any case, he can play. Good team. Javonte Williams will take over at running back this year, I think. And I think this team is hard to deal with. But the whole West is nasty because you got the Chiefs too, which signed Corey Coleman, who's still in the NFL. Juju comes in, Valdez-Scantling. They're just kind of replacing Tyreek Hill with depth. There's not a lot to talk about with this team because we already talked about the Tyreek Hill stuff, and they get all the picks, so it really feels like they're trying to balance out their team rather than just having a few good weapons. And I think that was probably necessary for the next evolution in what the Chiefs can become, right? They feel the need to move forward, and I kind of like that. So, this team is a beast. The Raiders, let's just talk about, the Devontae Adams thing is the one that really matters. By the way, they re-signed Max Crosby to a huge deal, brought in Chandler Jones. This defense is going to be better. Although the Rock Ya-Sin deal, like we said, I don't really know. But they brought in some players. The Devontae Adams deal, here's why it does make sense, I guess. How old is Devontae Adams? The thing is, you need a face of your franchise in Vegas, and they're not sure Derek Carr is that guy. He's 29, by the way. They're not sure Derek Carr is that guy, but they do know that Derek Carr is the guy that they want to keep because he has shown that with the right team, he can be very successful. I like Derek Carr, and Devontae Adams and he were college buddies, so you link them back up. They're going to be happy with each other. Excuse me. They pay him a ton. This is similar to the Hill deal, except you gave up less to get him, and I think he's a better receiver, and the team is better. So I guess they're still 4th in the division, but this is going to be a competitive team, man. They're tough. and you have these two DNs. I mean, good luck trying to block Chandler Jones and Max Crosby at the same time. Seriously. I don't know how you're going to do that. I don't know. This is a problem. Because they're going to feed Adams offensively. Their team is just solid. It's built with weapons. And yeah, maybe they have some holes and maybe they will get exploited. But man, Adams, Renfro, and Waller for Derek Carr, and Josh Jacobs, who still has another year. Kenyon Drake is back. Brandon Bolden as a pass catcher. And then you have the two pass rush. This is a scary team. Now, their secondary might be terrible. They might have to get in shootouts. They might have to feed Devontae Adams 100 times a game, but that's what they're going to do. And they no doubt improved their team a lot with just money and 2 picks. And so for that reason, I'm in. They spent a lot, though, so this has to be a competitive team or else it's going to look like a disaster. Now, the Chargers, to round out this division, the Khalil Mack trade seemed to be the thing that people were pointing to. I don't think this matters nearly as much as the J.C. Jackson deal, although they overpaid him. They probably overpaid for everybody that they have, but they're doing that on purpose. Even Mike Williams, probably an overpay, right? But they know that they have the quarterback who can win a Super Bowl right now on a rookie deal. And so because of that, they can afford to overpay everyone else in a short window. Mike Williams, you can cut 2 years from now if you need to. It's not going to kill you. You knew you needed him this year. You would probably need him next year. If he stays healthy, by the way, you have options. You could trade him if you really needed to. But also, he's good. Gerald Everett can play. Khalil Mack, I just don't know. I don't know. I'm torn on this one. He's going to bring leadership to the team. He's only 30, which is crazy. He was injured last year. He was an all-pro the year before. So, look, this is the same as Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, right? You have 2 pass rushers that you're like, my God, what are we going to do here? And so there's a world where in these divisional games, which will decide a lot, Broncos have Chubb too, and the Chiefs are not really concerned with their pass rushing, but you have so many pass rushers in this defense that the Chiefs might actually have a hard time in all their divisional games, even if they are the favorite in the division. I like this defense. I like Bosa and Mack together, even if Mack is the secondary guy. I like J.C. Jackson in the back with Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. There's a lot of things to like about this team. They felt like they were already there. You have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You have Austin Eckler. You have the quarterback. You have the line that was improved last year. You still have draft picks, by the way, because you didn't give them all up like all the other teams in your division did. So, yeah. This division is, I don't need to say it, and I don't want to just keep going on it because it's a bloodbath, but my favorite move in this division is the Russell Wilson deal. Because it took the Broncos from like, oh, that's a cute team to like, shit, we really got to worry about this team, even if he's just a tail end of the top 10 quarterback, which I think he can be much more than. Whereas the Chiefs just are what they were before, which is still elite, but I don't think they made leaps and bounds forward. The Raiders do make leaps and bounds forward, but their offensive line is still bad, so you still have to wonder if that's, that weakness. We just talked about all the pass rushers in this division, and that could be the thing that keeps them out of the playoffs. And then the Chargers the arrow is always pointing up, and they have this short window to do it, so I'm most excited about the Broncos, then the Chargers moves, and I still think that the Chiefs are the front runner in the division, but I won't be shocked if they don't win the division. Let's move on to the NFC. Cowboys didn't do a whole lot. They get rid of Amari Cooper. They bring back Michael Gallup to a 5-year deal. I find that insane, but only $23 million guaranteed. $10 million signing bonus. So what this tells me is you put all the money now, and if you need to cut him, it's fine. Not a whole lot. Just bringing back the same team pretty much. They have enough talent. They just need to put it together, which they probably won't do because they have the wrong coach. Wrong coach. I mean, more hands-on draft. I just got to move on from the Cowboys after reading this from Deadspin. More hands-on approach to the draft process in Dallas for Mike McCarthy. The fact that he didn't get fired is insane. They won't win with him, and the roster doesn't matter. Let's move on. Giants stink, but they're doing something similar to the Jets in a couple ways of just getting guys to plug holes. They signed a lot of offensive line help. 2 here, but I think they made other moves since then. I could be wrong. And they already had a couple of good ones. Bring in Matt Breida. I mean, they haven't done a whole lot. The thing that is really puzzling is, like, is Daniel Jones the guy? The answer is no, by the way. And if not, you bring in Tyrod Taylor, 2 years, $17 million max. Why? If he plays, your season is screwed because you had to give up on your quarterback who you thought it was. So the following year, you'll be looking to get another one, which you probably will be anyway. And then if he doesn't play, then you're paying him way too much money to sit on the bench. And by the way, he hasn't been good in a couple of years, and he's been injured. And he got his lung attacked by a team doctor. I'm not inspired. I thought Saquon Barkley would have been gone from this team. I thought they would have traded him or done something and made a move forward. You have a new coach, make a new quarterback change. It just feels like they're going to tread water and realize next year that they should have done all these moves last year. So next year feels like it'll be a new version of the Giants. This one, I guess they spent some money on the line and they're going to see if Jones is the guy. But this is the most budget way to see if the quarterback is the guy. This is a trend we've been talking about with a lot of these teams, evaluating their quarterback internally when he's a couple years in. But this is the cheapest way to do it, that's for sure. And the most money they spent was on a guy to compete with him who won't move the needle if he wins the job. So not really a fan. Eagles, this is what I don't get is they signed Hassan Reddick. Like, that's their big signing. They had so much money to spend. They're still having a lot of money. And by the way, with all of this, there's still time to go. It's not like it's football season. But you're signing Zach Pascal and re-signing Boston Scott. Greg Ward comes back. Jason Kelsey's back. That's cool for leadership and stuff. You re-sign a bunch of people. Fletcher Cox for a year. But you're not really using all that cap space for anything because you're just bringing back the people you already had, which was like the lowest cap team in like the history of the NFL in the modern era. So are they trying to do anything? This is another team who I don't believe in the quarterback, but they didn't really want to make any changes. I think Minshew should start here, but I don't think he will. And is Minshew, did he get cut? Or is he a free agent? No, he must still be there. Eagles. Yeah, he is. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think they overperformed this year, and people thought, like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe this team is good. Meanwhile, I don't think they were good, and they didn't improve. I think this was a huge missed opportunity to try to do something with all the cap space they have, and maybe they're just not rushing it, but you missed out on all the pieces. Not a fan of what this division is doing, by the way, if you couldn't tell. NFC East. Am I right? Commanders! Still no logo, just a W. You need a Commander logo. I think they do have one, actually. Pretty sure it was here that I saw it. Oh, no. Maybe they don't. This is how interesting their team is. I have to look up whether the logo exists. Not really. Just the W. All right. Lame team name, by the way. Should have been like Red Tails or something like that. The Carson Wentz thing we kind of already talked about, so I think they probably did a good thing here. They needed to get something. Heineke wasn't the guy. They bring back McKissick, who I actually like. And they already had some skill players in the building. I think their quarterback play is going to be improved, right? They don't have the gunslinger in Heineke that they had before. And this sounds crazy, but based on last year, I think Wentz will just make fewer mistakes and actually be more of a game manager, which for his whole career, he was the opposite of. And now that he leaves Frank Reich again, I don't know if that will be the case. He goes to Ron Rivera. We'll see what he does. He's always had a weird relationship with quarterbacks, going back to Cam Newton. But, I mean, Terry McLaurin exists, right? He'll have better receivers here than he did in Indy. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this team. I don't think they're great. I think their defensive front should have been great last year. Chase Young got hurt. That was a tough one. Yeah. I don't hate what they did in getting Wentz, but this might be... I don't know who the worst team in this division is. I mean, if the Cowboys don't just walk to a division title and then lose in the first round because Mike McCarthy exists, I'll be shocked. I don't want to spend more time on the NFC East than I have to. NFC North, Bears, again, you're really not doing much. And look, this was an arms. Everyone talking about the AFC West. Like, if it's an arms race, then there are fewer people to go around for other teams. So that's part of it. But damn, I just am uninspired. I mean, you bring in Simeon as a backup. You hope the kid is good at quarterback. I like what I saw from Fields, but you're not really helping him very much. You bring in Pringle and St. Brown, and he doesn't really have a lot of weapons. And you look at the Bears' depth chart, and it's like Marquise Goodwin still in the league. Darnell Mooney, I think, is awesome. But if he's it, I don't know. Allen Robinson's gone, right? Yeah. He's with the Rams. We'll get there. Yeah, I don't know about this. They signed a couple linemen. Just not a lot of moves for a team that, again, like the Eagles, it feels like they should have done something. Help evaluate the quarterback. At least all those teams that we talked about earlier are trying to do something different so they can see what the quarterback is. It feels like the Bears are just like, hey, Fields, you're going to do this with Mooney, right? And he's like, is there anyone else? They're like, not really. Do I still have to play at Soldier Field? Yeah. Okay. See you there, I guess. Lions. I mean, DJ Chark. I don't know. I don't think they were as bad as people thought last year. They competed a lot. This is more about evaluating the coach than anything else. I don't know what they would do. I don't know what you want them to do. They're just still bottoming out, I guess. When you tank and then you don't have a plan for the following year, it feels really bad. Because you're like, are we just going to keep tanking? I actually don't hate Jared Goff, by the way. And DeAndre Swift was hurt, and Hawkinson was hurt. They have Penny Sewell. I don't know, man. Their offensive line shouldn't be that bad. They really shouldn't have been as bad as they were last year, and I think they're probably determined to prove that. They had a lot of close games. I don't think they want to reinvent the wheel before they know what they have, and I feel like last year they probably internally felt like they didn't get a good look at what they had because they lost all these close games. So they'll make minor swaps, a lot like the Jaguars. The Jaguars probably felt like they were better than they should have showed last year, and they want a chance to prove it before deciding what to do with the roster. And that sounds like a weird way of doing things, but sometimes it makes sense. Packers bring back Rodgers on a gigantic deal, then get rid of all his receivers. Okay. Definitely could have kept Adams, by the way, because you offered him a pretty big deal. Now Allen Lazard is your number one receiver. Valdez-Scantling goes to the Chiefs. Why? Randall Cobb. You got Randall Cobb salad. Oprah Winfrey's son, Jawan. Amari Rodgers, Malik Taylor. I don't know what you do here. I mean, you have a back-to-back MVP quarterback who's like 38, 39, I'm guessing. I don't really know. Gotta be close to that, though, right? 38. Nailed it. And you're giving him nothing. You have two good running backs. What, are they going to become a hard-nosed running team? That doesn't exist. Defense is pretty good, by the way. You bring back Devondre Campbell. Preston Smith gets an extension. Tunyon comes back. They let who's the other guy that went to the Vikings, I think? Zadarius Smith gone in division. You're just shedding salary and giving it all to Rodgers. And this feels like the same thing they did with Favre in the late years, which didn't work out. They just kept paying him and having to chop off little pieces for him. And he ended up still being really good, but you knew they weren't going to actually win anything. And that's exactly how I feel about the Packers right now. Last year, I still felt like they could have won, and they still got smacked by a more physical team. Now, what the hell? Everyone's going to do this to them. It won't shock me if they take a step backwards at all. And is this just a victory tour for Rodgers? Like, hey, thanks. Ride out your career here, and we'll figure it out later? We just want to be loyal? Is this what happens when your team doesn't have an owner? Then again, James Dolan's an owner of a professional team, and that doesn't work out any better, so I don't know. But I mean, Allen Lazard, number one receiver, I don't know what to say about this. So it gets gets a D for me. I mean, you bring back Rodgers. I guess that's the only thing keeping it from an F. But yikes. And you let one of your better defenders go to a team rival. By the way, Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to a 1-year, $35 million fully guaranteed deal. Here's the thing. And I don't need to go any further than this. Kirk Cousins isn't a good quarterback. I don't give a shit what the stats say. I don't care. I'm going to show them to you, and then I'm going to prove that I don't care. 33 touchdowns, 7 picks, good completion percentage, 4,200 yards. On paper, he's the quarterback that you want. On the field, he is not the quarterback that I want. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback at all. Maybe he's top 15 quarterback. I'm not going to go through that exercise now, but maybe. Is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback? You better have the best team around him. I think he's just a meltdown waiting to happen. I think last year was his best year on paper. I don't think it's going to get any better than that. I know they have Cook and they have Jefferson, and this team is solid, but they had coaching issues. And then you're paying him $35 million. Like, it's a 1-year deal. There's no bad 1-year deals. I really do believe that. But they're kicking the can down the road. And I guess they're like, this is almost like calling the Packers bluff. You're not worried about the Lions or the Bears. So you're saying, I think you got rid of all your good players and I can steal the division from you. And that might be true. It really might be. Even with the Cousins disparity against Rodgers. Although I think every time they match up, Rodgers could still wipe the floor with him, even without receivers. But no confidence here for me for actually winning stuff. So I don't really get it. And I just would not give $35 million to Kirk Cousins under any real circumstance, unless I had a team like the Browns, which was like, I can win now. And even then, I actually don't want Kirk Cousins as the quarterback. So no, I'm not giving him $35 million. Falcons get Marcus Mariota, let Matt Ryan go. I actually don't think that's necessarily a huge step backwards. I know that sounds weird. But again, for a team that's not really going to win right now anyway, and suspended their best player for the entire year, that's a whole different show. At least this is a guy that can step in and your team will function. This is a tank year, right? It must be. But you got Younghoe Koo, on a 5-year deal. My fantasy kicker, WrestleMania 8 coming up. Gonna win again. Gonna wear the belt on one of these shows. But Koo is a beast. So at least you locked him up, right? Don't worry about the rest of it. Team's bad. Panthers. I mean, do we have anyone that wants to play quarterback or no? Anyone? Bueller? If they come into the season, honestly, I really mean this. If you're a Panthers fan listening to this, if you come into the season with Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, and PJ Walker at quarterback, I don't understand how you could support rooting for this team. You have a young coach that wants to be offensive. You have DJ Moore. You have stuff to work with. And they just refuse to improve the quarterback. Now, maybe they still will. Maybe this is a Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo team. It's possible. But I could have sworn they did make a move at quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong. Plan to add to the quarterback room. I mean, I don't. Are they going to bring back Cam? Like, this is crazy to me. They signed Deontay Foreman and Rashard Higgins and re-signed DJ Moore, and they just ignore quarterback. Until then, this team's going to be really bad. It's just the way it is. So either they're going to make a big splash, or they're going to go get Baker or Jimmy or Minshew or something. This feels incomplete. And maybe this team can improve if you put a quarterback in there that can do something. I just, as of now, it's like, what's taking you so long to realize that you need to move on from this quarterback room? The Saints signed Jameis Winston, even though he had a small setback. They signed Marcus May from the Jets, who I really liked. He's a good player. He'll help their defense, who was already a really good defense. Their D is really good. The problem with signing Winston is that you don't have any playmakers. You get Michael Thomas back, I guess. But then besides that, Callaway didn't really look good last year. Maybe he will. You still have Kamara. It's still the same team, right? Good defense, one running back, one receiver, and a quarterback you're not sure about. And then you pay Taysom Hill millions of dollars to do what? I have no idea what he does. I mean, look, let's just move on because Brady comes out of retirement. screw you, by the way, Tom, if you're listening, and I know you are. Why? Why you got to play with my emotions like that? I knew you weren't going to retire. I said it from the moment it happened. This is garbage. He posts 7 Instagram text boxes saying he's leaving and then doesn't say anything about the Patriots. This man has too much awareness of his own legacy to go out like this. Stupid. But the only reason he comes back, in my opinion, is A, which I still think could happen, if he goes to a different team, he could play for the Niners. There could be a Niners-Bucks trade happening. That's probably not going to happen at this point, but if it did, I wouldn't be that shocked. And B, if he's coming back, he's doing it just to win a soft division. Falcons can't play, Panthers can't play, and the Saints, I mean, he does lose to the Saints a lot, actually, but I don't think they'll amass enough wins to beat the Bucks. So it's like, he brings back Fournette, they bring back Godwin, they get Russell Gage, actually, who I really like. They're deeper than ever. They still have Evans. They bring back Perryman, who I liked. Ryan Jansen comes back. Logan Ryan signs there, former Patriot. They're just bringing the team back, and then the Patriots trade Shaq Mason there. We talked about the Shaq Hakeem thing. Yeah, they're going to be good. What do you expect? Yeah, they're going to win the division with ease. We'll talk about the odds in a second. NFC West is our last division? It is. NFC West, Cardinals, there was rumors about the Kyler Murray thing. I didn't really understand that. You got to get him healthy. That's what you have to do. Re-signing Zach Ertz doesn't do that. Letting Chase Edmonds go doesn't do that. Re-signing Colt McCoy doesn't do that. You know what I don't see here? Anyone on the offensive line. Let Kirsten Kirk go. Didn't really have a choice. Can't pay him. I'm uninspired. Do they feel like this is a team, since they were 8-0 or whatever, or 10-1, whatever the hell it was, that they, if they stay healthy, they just can win? Maybe that's even true. I don't know. But man, I would make it a priority to protect Kyler or keep him healthy in some capacity. And I just don't see it from their roster moves. So it's a very tough division, and it's a good team, and you're going to have to worry about them, but they let Chandler Jones go. It seems like this is axing a lot of stuff and not bringing in a lot. Maybe they're poised for another move, but I'm unsure about Kingsbury. It just feels like this is a team that's really wasting the young quarterback deal, right? Like, you see what the Chargers are doing. They're like, go, 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 go. We got to win now, because if we pay him, we can't win after that. And that's why you started hearing trade rumors about Kyler, because it seemed like the Cardinals were like, well, maybe we don't want to go, 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 and we're not sure if we want to pay him. And that's fine. You can evaluate that. There's nothing wrong with it. But you can't do this. You can't just keep him around and then not even try to put something around him to win. Make a decision. This feels like punting. This is the roster equivalent of punting. And I don't know if they'll take a step back, because if he's healthy and Hopkins is healthy, they're so talented that they'll still be really good. But I'm uninspired. The Rams, defending champs, bring in Allen Robinson. Man, I mean, if Beckham comes back off of the injury, which I'm sure they don't know if he's going to play this year, I guess. So they bring in Robinson to replace him for this season and potentially moving forward. And opposite Cup, that's probably a pretty good signing. They pay Stafford. They got rid of Von Miller's money. This feels like the window is definitely closing. We knew it was probably a 2-year window. $60 million signing bonus for Stafford, which means they weren't going to get rid of him this year, right? And he's going to have another 2 years at least. So this actually clears money off of the salary cap for the Rams now, and they pay the money up front, meaning that they're being smart about this. They're looking towards the future and saying, we got our Super Bowl. Let's make sure that when this all runs out, it really runs out. Like, when all of these contracts are done, we can bottom out, start fresh. And that's going to be important, because there was no doubt that they were going to have to do that once they started this process. So they'll still be really good. They'll still contend for a division championship and probably a Super Bowl. And nothing not to like here. And they replaced Beckham due to the injury. So, yeah, I don't see anything bad. Niners, you just don't really understand what's happening here. This is the equivalent of the guy with the stick meme that's like, do something. Yeah, what are they doing at quarterback? They still have Jimmy on the roster. They don't want to play him. I don't think you can play him. You got to move on to the kid. But can he play? And you have a team that's kind of already good and ready to win. And you don't know if the quarterback's there. This is why I thought the Brady deal would have made sense. I really think you got to get Jimmy out of the building if you can. Because if he's just waiting in the wings there, I don't know. The first bad game they have offensively, it's like, should we turn to Jimmy? And then you know what that looks like already. So it's really hard to keep him there. Although I think they're doing this dance where they're waiting for mid-season when the trade deadline rolls around to see if a quarterback gets hurt or even in camp and then force a trade that way. Or maybe the Panthers will just up and grab him. But this is really, there's nothing to talk about here. Seahawks get rid of Wilson. They had to. So that's pretty much it here. I mean, I know there's a lot of moves, but without Wilson, this team is bottoming out. They're going to be very bad. They have Drew Lock. I don't know why anyone would want him. He can't start there, right? Are you really going to start Drew Lock? Can that be real? There's no way. It's him or Geno. That's got to be the scariest. If you're the GM or Pete Carroll, you got to look around like, am I being pranked? Am I being punked here? Come on. And you still have Lockett and Metcalf. I thought they would have made more moves. Is Lockett still there? He is, right? He was on a big deal, I think. Yeah. So, I don't know. This team's clearly worst in their division, and they're going to get stomped on. And it's going to be a long process. I think Pete Carroll gets fired after this year, although they still owe him money, so they might just let him ride it out. I don't know what they do. They've made moves. They've tried to do something. They're still re-signing and signing people, which I don't understand. They're spending money, but you do know you can't compete, right? And that's pretty much all we got. Before we wrap, let's go to the division odds. AFC East, Bills, huge favorite, but minus 180. The juice on that, I don't like the Patriots roster moves, but I still think they're going to be competitive. Although there's something to be said for these odds. They're not that bad. They're probably going to get worse. Unless the Patriots make a big splash. And if they do, that's when you might want to bet the Bills, actually. So, nothing else worth looking at here. AFC North is wide open. I do think there's some value on the Ravens. Most people will look right at the Bengals and say, you're third? How? In your own division? And the Browns one makes sense, right? Because their roster is stacked and the news of Deshaun Watson just hit recently. And, of course, their odds are going to be a little juicy. But the Ravens, if they didn't get injured last year, I think they would have been so much better. You have a borderline MVP candidate, not borderline, he won the MVP at quarterback. And I just feel like everyone's so down on them because they don't realize all the injuries that happened last year. And if they come back full strength, I think this might be worth a flyer. It's just the team no one's talking about. And if my mouse goes anywhere near the Steelers, just rip it out of my hand. AFC South, awful division. This is the worst division I can imagine in a long, long time. How do you split up the Colts and the Titans? I don't know, because you don't know what the Matt Ryan thing is going to look like. But you really can't take the Jaguars, I guess. I just don't want to put money on the Jaguars. I'm sorry. I would sooner actually just take a flyer on the Titans for a tiny, tiny bit at plus 2,600 just because I kind of like Davis Mills. I don't think they're going to win, but I don't think these odds are worth it either because it's hard to split these teams. I don't like Tannehill, and I don't love Matt Ryan, so I don't know. Is Davis Mills my favorite quarterback in this division? What's happening right now? AFC West, I think the only thing you do here is take some people with the longer odds, right? Now, the Raiders' problem is the offensive line, but at plus 700, that might be worth the flyer. And you could probably talk me into Chiefs too, because positive odds on the Chiefs is pretty crazy, and you're not going to make them negative odds because you would have too high of odds on the other teams that are all really good. This is just a stay away for me in general, this division, and I think it will remain that way, and maybe something could change before we do the actual show where we lock in these divisional picks, but Broncos with Russ. I'm looking at that, but I don't know. All these divisional games are just bloodbaths, and I actually feel like you won't see the number one seed come out of this division because it's just going to be too hard to get through it. It might actually hurt their Super Bowl chances having to beat up on each other the whole entire season, whereas the Bills just have to play a couple of cupcake games against the Jets and the Dolphins, which maybe they'll be improved too, but I don't like any of the odds here. NFC East, I mean, man, I don't like the Cowboys. I just got to put that out there. Not a fan. Hate Mike McCarthy. That said, if they lose this division, that is insane. It's crazy that they're minus 115, but the Bills are minus 180. I know the Bills are much better, but I think the Patriots are a worthy foe. I don't think the Eagles are a worthy foe. So you can have me circle this and just be aware of how much I'm going to hate myself when I have to watch the Cowboys and tweet about them and talk to you all on here when I have their ticket to win the division, and then they're playing week 17 against the Eagles, and I still think the Eagles stink, but they might steal the division, and I see it. I see it all happening. NFC North, are they begging me to take the Vikings? Am I falling into a trap? Why am I taking the Packers? They don't have a receiver on the team. What are we doing? Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson? I just talked so much smack about Kirk Cousins. It's the same thing as the Cowboys. It's like, I don't want to, but the odds, these odds should be even. What are we talking about here? So Vikings odds, I really like. Bucks are minus 320 already. All the value's probably gone there. I don't know. Maybe if the Panthers go get a quarterback that's real, you'll see these odds change, and maybe it'll be a little sexier, but I don't want to lay the juice on this just in case Tom Brady gets hurt or actually looks like a human being for once in his life, which probably won't happen. And then Rams at plus 150. I like that too. I don't know. The Niners are good, but the quarterback situation is so scary. Why don't the Niners have a logo, by the way? Weird. Yeah. And you could probably talk me into the Cardinals plus 272, but Rams plus 150, man. This I really like. I really like that. So there's some leans for you. We don't have exact picks yet because it's just kind of hard to figure out so far. But we're going to get there. It's coming fast. We will have more NFL free agency talk. I'm sure of it. And we will do more of these shows. There's a lot more NFL stuff to come. But I love the offseason. It's fun stuff. If you want more opinions on stuff as it breaks, I'm constantly searching Twitter. So follow me on there at Mike Mush Sports. Instagram, got plenty of stuff. Also Mike Mush Sports. Subscribe to the channel. Like it. Leave a comment. Join the chat. We're live when we do these. It's fun to go back and forth with people so you can rag on all my takes. I'm fine with it. I'll defend them till my dying day. Some of these hills I won't die on, like the Cowboys winning the division. Someone stop me from making that bet. I don't know. We'll see you next time. Peace out.